Okay, let's see what is going on in the news today. Oh, the Cowboys made another trade. I guess we can add it to their draft class, I guess. Kinda. Hey everybody, I'm Cortez and I'm a critic and welcome back. We are currently in the run through of the NFL Draft 2025 recap. We are now in the NFC East and the Dallas Cowboys are on the clock and, well, they just got another new player. George Pickens, wide receiver, is now a Cowboy. Oh, goody. Okay, so before we get into the Cowboys' 9 selections that they got in this year's draft, we have to address, at least very quickly, George Pickens going to the Cowboys. One, it makes Cowboy fans feel excited, and I think it made some Steelers fans a little bit, like, what the hell? And then I just want to talk to that small group of individuals that just have to address literally the giant elephant in the room in Dallas. George Pickens' behavior, his attitude is not the most team-oriented cohesion with other teams, which makes you wonder what the hell is going on in Pittsburgh when it comes to their wide receiver. Antonio Brown was a phenomenal talent, toxic. Juju Smith-Schuster, humble, up and coming, great star. Ruined everything with TikTok dances and an arrogant ego. He has a ring with Kansas City, but he's not been the go-to receiver ever since. Chase Claypool, a wide receiver that developed his rookie season from Notre Dame and then became an eccentric, troll on the internet and basically has not found anywhere remotely successful in any team he's gone to, even remotely be considered a threat on the offensive schemes. So he's gone. Now you have George Pickens, another wide receiver from Pittsburgh that had all the talent, all the grading, but for some reason his attitude gets manipulated, toxic. We're going to the dark side. So I don't know what's going on in Pittsburgh when it comes to receiving core. Basically, any great receiver from college goes to the Steelers. You're always going to feel like, well, 1 or 2 years they're going to be great, and then by year 3 or 4 they're going to become, obnoxious assholes, and you'll be like, why do we pick him anyway? His character is incredibly flawed and damaged. But then think of Dallas getting him on a tray for basically scraps. Let's be real, and you can't help but feel like, sure, he goes to Dallas. Dallas has a much bigger Cowboy Nation than the Steelers do. The one thing the Steelers have over the Cowboys is legacy and Hall of Famers and just a more acceptable of the blue-collar everyday man. Dallas basically has an empire of oil and football forged into it, and you got Jerry Jones, basically one of the, how do I say it nicely? One of the most beautiful owners in that he will talk everything, and you really think that George Pickens' attitude, if he somehow gets out of line with his attitude, Jerry Jones is going to be like, well, that's understandable. That's okay. I'll accept that. Are you kidding me? Remember, this is the same Dallas Cowboy team that gave Greg Hardy another chance. So we'll see what happens, but I'm telling you right now, how much can a one player's greatness on the field kind of cover up his attitude off it? I mean, some Cowboy fans are not happy with Micah Parsons' podcast thing, and some of them even going up to the network television networks talking about, I think Micah Parsons talk more about football than his podcast. But that's for another time. Let's get down to it. The Cowboys have 9 selections as they are trying to get themselves back into the NFC East race because the Washington Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles flat out says, we own this. Can the Cowboys make this a 3-man race? And can the Giants do something? We'll talk about the Giants later. So, with the 12th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys selected Tyler Booker, offensive guard, Alabama. Okay, my Cowboy fans, thank you for watching and tolerating my tolerance. Remember when Dak Prescott and Zeke Elliott first were rookies and they came in, they became this new dynamic 1-2 punch. Everyone was like, oh my God, the Cowboys are back. And I just sit there going, we know it's not true. But their rookie season was successful, and I think a lot of it was because of the core offensive line that they had. And with a lot of the offensive players leaving, retiring, and saying, thanks for the career, but I'm done, this draft class felt very much like we must get back to foundation. As much as Jerry Jones wants the flashy star, DB ball hawk, the wide receiver speed demon, the linebacker that takes heads off and puts them as trophies on his wall, sometimes Jerry Jones must remember that what made the Cowboys great, especially with the Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott era, was their core offensive line was one of the best, if not the best offensive line in football, to the point that it protected a rookie quarterback in Dak Prescott, which then led to a $60 million deal, which we'll talk about that another time, and gave Ezekiel Elliott, basically known as the greatest running back out of Ohio State coming out in his rookie season and then beyond, before, sad like most running backs, he, got worn and tear, and eventually he became a shell of himself, because that's the history of running backs. It's sad but true. At least we hope so. That's not the case, but evidence would point that way anyway. So them getting Booker clearly means, one, to make up for the loss of what they have the offensive line, but to get back to foundation. Foundation of the Cowboys is a strong offensive line to protect your quarterback and to make sure the rushing attack is good. Now, Rico is gone. The running back sensation that had 1,000 yards when everyone basically would make fun of him as, who are you? So the Cowboys currently have like 4 new running backs. So I guess it's going to be a running back by committee until someone proves themselves worth. And some of these running backs could make a splash bigger than they thought. And some of them, I'm hoping this could be a rejuvenated for their careers. But right now, them getting Booker is getting back to the foundation where the Cowboys were, strong offensive line presence. And now, with a second round, with a 44th overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys selected Donovan Esuaku. Thank you, Google. Translation. Esuaku, defensive edge, Boston College. This guy is, with his lanky arms, this guy is clearly designed for one thing: sack quarterbacks. Now, I understand that some edge must be known to covering zone, screen passes, running back, but Donovan is clearly there, one, to replace Lawrence, who departed to Seattle, but also potentially take some attention away from Micah Parsons, because as much as we love Micah Parsons, I mean we as Cowboy fans, not we as the NFL, Micah Parsons doesn't have that same type of impact, I believe, like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt, where sometimes they single-handedly taken over the defense. That unless they don't do their job, the rest of the 10 men on that field does not eat. Micah Parsons still has that presence, but there are times where you see play where if Micah Parsons gets just enough double team or just enough, exterior blocking and doesn't even get to touch the quarterback before the quarterback has a chance to throw within 3 to 4 seconds, a lot of time the Cowboys defense just seems a little bit like they're kind of off. So getting Donovan as another pass rusher, another young, fresh, vibrant one, not so much to replace Micah, but to give Micah Parsons basically a number 2 distractor. Someone else will take some of the attention and then sometimes get sacked. So therefore, Micah can win the one-on-one matchups more time than he can win the double team, and then, the chip block by the running back or tight end. So Donovan's coming in, not just to replace Lawrence, but to get the Cowboys back to what they were under Dan Quinn, was sack quarterbacks, be a nightmare, and hopefully the rest of the defense will follow. The Cowboys, I feel like they have a lot of still good players on defense, but a lot of it is based on how much we get pressure on the quarterback. Because once they do that, then basically the whole defense, thrives, especially with the turnover department with their secondary. So Donovan coming in, he is a cheetah on the corner for sacking quarterbacks, and that's what the Cowboys needed. Then we go to the third round with the 76th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. The Dallas Cowboys selected Siobhan Revel Jr., corner, Eastern Carolina. I wanted him to come to Tampa. I'll admit that. I want him to come to Tampa. Yes, he did have an ACL tear that cut his season short. But in my defense, I think we all can agree, sports medicine has been very much exponentially helping players get back on the court, the ice, the field, faster than most. And I think a lot of the athletes are, their training, their rehabilitation process helps them get back to playing time and even full strength a lot faster than most. And you're telling me that the Dallas Medical Facility is not going to give that type of resources and evaluation for Revel to recover a lot much faster. Yes, he did get ACL early in the year, so therefore he's kind of still in that window of potentially making himself there. But the thing is about Revel is that I don't believe he's not here to come in to be boom starter. Do I believe he will start? If he's as good as I believe he is, he will probably start a game or two down the line, probably by week 8. Not saying, I mean, you still got Diggs, you still got Bland. Revel could be the third corner. Right now, he is viewed as the left corner behind Deron Bland. So, rotational players, scheme systems. The question would be how quickly can he get himself into the scheme of the defense, which now they're running a 4-3 defense, even though I kind of like him as more of a 3-4. But that pretty much means they're going to put, Micah Parsons more as a defensive end than an edge rusher. So we'll see how that works. Also with Donovan. But this to me is more of we want to keep. I mean, when Diggs got hurt for a season, people thought the Dallas Cowboys defense was done, but it wasn't. So for the Cowboys, very much how I felt about Donovan for Micah Parsons is not to replace Diggs or Bland. Revel is here to come in to basically keep those two fresh, but also not make them miss a step. Revel, I believe, he could be one of those rookies that have they'll lead other rookie defensive backs in interceptions. That's how confident I feel with him. Could he be? Possibly. I mean, could he have the same kind of season that Blaine had, where he basically just had, every time he intercepted the ball, it was always a pick six, potentially. But I'm telling you, Revel coming in there is just to keep the Cowboys are getting back to the core. Offensive line, sacking quarterbacks, defense, solidification. That's what they're trying to do. So to me, Revel is definitely an added thing. And the thing is, they're not trying to rush him to get into it, but when he does play, I feel confidently his rookie season, he will make splashes. Then the Cowboys took a break. Then to the 5th round. With the 149th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys selected Jadon Blue, running back, Texas. Now, I could have sworn I came across Blue over his high school evaluation. I think it was one of the top 20, maybe even higher up running backs out of high school going to college. And I really felt like this season with Texas really showcased just how good he is. And I think not just as a running back, but as a receiving back. I think Blue is more dangerous in space as a receiver, and not just a quick check down type, but if he goes into a wheel route or he goes into the slot and he goes into a slant or a drag, Blue has it. I mean, there were some catches in the playoffs this year with Texas where you just feel like that's a running back doing that. That's a running back that you just can't help but feel like, huh. So one, he was a top tier running back out of high school. He played for a top tier program in Texas. He was great in Texas. I mean, Texas is Quinn Ewing problem, that's so him go and then I also love the story. He's from Texas, Longhorns, and he's gonna stay in Texas, Dallas. It's the perfect American dream, Texas is where the football players play. So we go from Longhorn to Cowboy. That's the story of Texas. That's a great story right there. Put Blue on a Ford truck commercial and you got yourself a marketing thing. By the way, if that happens, Jerry Jones, I want 10%. So, Blue coming in to the Cowboys. Like I said, they have 4 new running backs that were not associated with ever since Rico went to Carolina, which I always felt like, really couldn't keep him, could we? So, it's open for grabs. And I think Blue, especially his receiving, I mean, they got Miles Sanders, who I believe is also another running back that can catch the ball, but I feel like Miles is going through a kind of a midlife crisis when it comes to his career, because when he went to Carolina, people thought, Carolina's loaded, but he didn't really make any noises to the point that you keep forgetting, he was a Panther. So Blue coming into the Cowboys, he's going to be the interchanger. He's going to be the third down back. I feel he's going to have a lot of catches that he might be up there, with Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Ferguson, and then Blue might be your 4th leading receiver. That's how much I feel like Blue will be catching passes, because I'm not so really solidified with the coaching staff of the Cowboy. A lot of it feels a little bit like, if I squint my eyes, maybe I can see something good. But right now I feel a lot of question marks and, I don't see a lot of positives right now. But Blue coming in, check down for Prescott, get in the wheel route. Something that I feel like the Cowboys kind of really, really wanted, a very versatile catching back. Blue is the guy, and I think that's a great pick for them. Then, still in the 5th round, with the 152nd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys selected Sherman James, linebacker, Florida. Okay. Cowboy fans, how many of you feel that the interior linebacker, the middle linebackers of the Cowboys have sadly not lived up to expectations? I remember Sean Lee. I remember Vanderdash. You know what I'm talking about, I can't pronounce his name. It just feels like the middle linebacker for the Cowboys has never been what they want it to be. And a lot of it is because of injuries. That sometimes I feel like the middle part of that linebacking core, that middle part of that defense always seems to be lacking. Secondary always been solid. The edge been rushed. Even the defensive tackles have had more success. But that middle line where it always feels like, man, we have never really been able to give it the full attention it deserves. Man, we just have not to. And Sherman James, I'm not going to say he's going to change it, but definitely he's there for middle linebacker, run support, stop the run in that middle gap. You're in a division now that has went from a two-man race to potentially a three-man race and maybe more, because the Giants got some players that I feel like they'll love to dissect the middle of your defense, which we'll talk about the G-men. We'll talk about the G-men. So Sherman coming in, it feels run support defense. Stop the run in the middle, stop the offense from moving all down the field, and stop eating and churning yardage. You got Barkley, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Jaden Daniels, you got Robinson, and you got, like I said, the Giants got some players too. And not to mention the rest of the NFC has some running backs and committees, that you probably will have to face maybe sometime in the season, whether in the regular season or in the playoffs. So solidifying that defense, because we all know your perimeter players, your secondary and your linebackers and edges, those guys are solidified. It's that middle you want to solidify more. So I feel like Sherman James there is a run supporter. He's currently in a backup middle linebacker, according to this, behind Jack Sanborn. But rotational definitely feels like there. So James coming in there, definitely feel like they want to solidify the middle, make it stronger, and compare with everyone else. Now we're in the 6th round. With the 204th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys selected Agent Cornelius, offensive tackle, Oregon. Now we're going back to foundation. What makes us good? I think the Cowboys have been really good at putting their resources to offensive line. And sometimes there's an offensive line where people feel like that's a great pick, but then the Cowboys make them greater. So taking a player, even a 6th round player out of Oregon, and saying that we're going to pick him in. He's currently being viewed as, I think, as a right tackle in that side of the ball. We're going to put him into it. To me, feels more of let's develop him, let's, assemble him. Because the Cowboys have been, they have drafted, 3 new offensive linemen, first round in the past 3 seasons. You got the guy from Tulsa, you got the Oklahoma guy, Guyton, and then you got Booker, who is right now being viewed as your starting right guard. So Cowboys are going back to the word, developing young offensive linemen for the next 10, 15 years. So seeing them getting Cornelius obviously means that he's going to be developing into probably the starting right tackle, or maybe they'll move him inside because, sometimes players do that, depending on what best fits them in the NFL schemes. To me, this feels more of we have time to develop him, and we don't have to force him in. But depends on preseason training camp, because we all know injuries and sometimes playing in a professional football kind of showcases how much development they need to do. Maybe Cornelius gets some playing time in short yardage situation and goal line. Extra offensive tackles, the tight end spot. Cup for short yardage, who knows? But to me, this feels like we have time to develop him, and you guys have been really good at developing offensive linemen. Even one where even some experts, Kuiper and all them, be like, I think this guy is too raw, but then he becomes a star in his rookie season. So I trust the Cowboys offensive line department, even though the coaches have makes me go, don't know. Now we're in the 7th round, the last 3 picks. With the 217th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys selected Jay Toai, defensive tackle, UCLA. Going back to what I said about Sherman James, this is for interior defensive run support. They're running a 4-3 defense, so I feel like defensive tackle rotation is the key. Developing young players into potential rotational players is the key. Currently, their interior defensive tackle side is full. Both the left and right defensive tackle is full. They got basically 8 defensive tackles they're projecting according to the ESPN.com mock depth chart. Now, with camp and everything, and of course, the longevity of a season and injuries, of course, you got to consider those factors always. But this feels more as he's young, he's raw, let's develop him, and we'll see where it goes. A lot of these players, I feel like, are for development, so therefore they won't have to be put in a situation where they have to make drastic changes, trade draft picks, make trades, send players away they don't want to send away because they got to get that certain player to help in so the season not feel lost. Plus, the defense of the Cowboys has been the heart and soul for the past few seasons. Even though when Dak Prescott went down last year, Cooper Rush offense kept them going, and the Cowboy defense showed up a few times, even though it was obvious when Lawrence and Micah was out for injuries. It kind of showcased, a flaw in the defense. So to me, this is more development. This is more for depth. Would he get some playing time this year? This season's a long season. You have to consider potential, players being out with injuries or, being shook up for, turf toe. So you got to consider this, and hopefully this will be something to do it. We'll see more of him in preseason. We'll see how much he gets acclimated into an NFL scheme system. Now in the 7th round, still with a 239th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys selected Phil Mafah, running back, Clemson, 6'1", 230. Okay, I am more of a fan of the big back. I mean like big back. I mean backs that are like over 6 foot, not like 6 foot and a quarter, like 6'1", 6'2", and they're almost pushing 240. Basically the guy that looked like they could probably be, gladiators in, in the Roman Empire. So, and I remember seeing Phil in Clemson, and I'm, big backs, and I can't help but feel like the Cowboys running back history, for those Cowboy fans that know more, I know Julius Jones, Marion Barber, Felix Jones, all that. I can't remember Ezekiel Elliott. I can't remember really when the Cowboys had like a big back. And with things like Derrick Henry always being viewed as the cornerstone of big bag downhill running, I can't help but think of a Brandon Jacobs, what he was with the Giants, how effective he was. And maybe, not right away, but if Phil develops into that big back that can wear down defenses over time and keep the ball rolling and get that time of possession down the field and short yardage, I can't help but feel like that maybe that's what he's meant for. Situational big back, and as the season goes on, maybe he gets more development. This one could potentially be a steal if he's developed well. And with the offensive line being rejuvenated, and I understand you got CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott with big contracts, so you kind of want to make sure they get to eat during the game. But if seasons get close, if it's a 13-13 game or a 13-12 game, you want to eat that clock, Phil could be that guy that can eat the clock and takes a simple, 10-play drive to like a 6-minute drive and then get to a field goal and just ice the game. Phil is definitely a closer in my book, and definitely a big back for short yardage, and hopefully he develops into that. All right, the last pick with the 247th pick of the 2025 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Tommy Akinbestote, defensive tackle, Maryland. There again, Maryland players again. Seriously, what is going on with the Terrapins? Seriously. Okay, we end with a defensive tackle. Obviously, back to what I felt about the UCLA selection of Jay. This is development. When it comes to the 7th round, I feel like a lot of coaches have to consider, what if we get put into a situation where we have to put this pick? Because Brock Purdy has basically proven, out of all positions, the quarterback, the chance of them becoming a starter the rookie season as a 7th round pick, especially the last pick, always has to be that question of what if. So I feel like a lot of NFL owners, a lot of NFL GMs, and some even coaches that are thinking, is there a player in the 7th round that you feel like if things go worse, you feel confidently you can train, you can forge this young man into potentially being a contributor in his rookie season as a 7th round pick? I feel like that has become the new thing, that you cannot look at 7th round picks no more as a third stringer, rotational special teamer. You have to consider, could this player be developed in a short amount of time into potentially becoming a rotational player or even a starter if the situation calls for it? I think that's what has happened, and I feel like a lot of time, one, is giving more opportunities for young men to not consider being a 7th round pick as a, okay, whatever, but now they're thinking, dude, you are still picked as one of their players. They picked you. They didn't just say, well, let's just collect them with the undrafted free agent and see what happens. No, they picked you for a reason. So to me, getting Tommy, rotational, development, not to rush it. Like I said, their defensive tackle side is completely full, and funny enough, Tommy is being viewed as a third stringer. So not even fourth, which means he's a few play snaps away from getting potentially the second player to become that rotational side. So to me, like I said, just because you're 7th round pick doesn't mean you don't have the potential of becoming a starter your rookie season. Yes, the chances are very long, but there's still a chance greater than there ever was in the past 3 years of the NFL season. So, what do I give the Cowboys grade? Cowboys look better, especially the defensive side. The Cowboys defense look better. I feel like there's some the Jay and Blue pick, the Sherman James pick, the Phil Maffa pick. There are some diamonds in there that just need a little bit of a polish and a little bit of sharpening just to clean that a little bit. So I feel like the Cowboys are a better team, but a lot of it is taking these rookies and put them with the player that would have as starters. Diggs, Micah, Prescott, CD, and of course, like I said, they got George Pickens. That's technically actually another new player to the team. So technically, the Cowboys have 10 new players on the Cowboys. And that announcement happened like 2 days before this recording. So whenever this gets out, keep in mind that when this recording 2 days, you know what my timeline is. So that is their grade. I give it, they are better. The player I want to keep an eye on, that thing we all need to keep an eye on, I am giving it to Donovan Ezaruku, the defensive edge, Boston College. Mainly because I'm in the Tampa area, he was talked about potential being a steal for the Buccaneers. So his name was always being brought up multiple times by multiple different systems. So I was wondering, okay, what these experts are saying a lot of these things, a lot of local news saying a lot of these things. And then seeing the Cowboys get him makes me go, okay, so I guess you see something in him too that I didn't see. So I'm hoping this guy becomes a disruptor, this guy becomes exactly what it is, because let's be real, when you think of Boston College, the last defensive player that I can think of at Boston College was Luke Kuechly. And he was great, but he came out of nowhere before the draft. He was like 4th overall by the Panthers, and I was like, he was great. Out of Boston College. No disrespect to Boston College, but Boston College is one of those schools where it's just like, even the ACC, it's kind of like, what, the 5th most liked team in that thing, give or take? So, to me, that's where I feel like Cowboys will be. Donovan, let's keep an eye on him and see what he can do, and that's my favorite player. And that concludes the Dallas Cowboys draft. Now we're going to go, screw it, let's go big right away. The next pick on our NFC East tour will be the Philadelphia Super Bowl defending champion Eagles. And we talk about and see what did they do to make sure that this year wasn't 1 year done and their chance for a repeat and a potential dynasty has been started and forged. So next time we'll be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. But until next time, I'm Cortez and I'm a critic. Thank you so very much for watching.